This is an MPB Think Radio podcast. To hear previous shows, visit mpbonline.org or download the MPB Public Radio app to listen on your iPhone or Android phone on demand.
From MPB Think Radio, this is Mississippi Education Connection. I'm your host, Michelle McAdoo, along with my co-host, Tara Wren, Director of Education here at MPB. Well, this academic school year is over, and as chaotic and stressful as it may have been, you made it. But now it's summertime, and keeping your kids active and engaged during this time isn't going to be easy. So today, we're taking a look at summer camps and programs from around the state, letting you know where you can send your kids this summer. Now, we're going to start off on the Mississippi Gulf Coast at the Walter Anderson Museum. Then we'll head to the Mississippi Children's Museum and end with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Mississippi. Now, if you'd like to be a part of today's show, you have a comment or a question, give us a call at 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464. Well, good morning, Tara.
Good morning, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. It's Friday.
Yes.
How's your week been?
The week was good. Had a good long weekend.
Yes.
And last week got a little rest, so the week's been pretty good. We're planning lots of things.
We did have a short weekend. I forgot Monday was a holiday for most, and we got a day to relax and release.
Yes.
And especially coming off of school. You know, we talked about that last Friday with the senior day, but coming off of graduations, college and high school, all of the online distance learning and the work that parents actually had to put in this last semester has been
recovery period.
Yes, that Monday was really needed.
It was.
But now it's time for most people and companies are getting back into the workforce. Parents are having to go back to work, and now they're wondering, what are we going to do with our children?
Right.
Our summer camps open, our clubs open. So we're going to have take a look at those today and see what options parents have.
A good time to talk about that.
Yes. But speaking of education, what's going on in the education department?
Well, we've got a lot going on, but I will tell everybody about the most exciting thing we're working on right now. As you know, in the past 6-7 years, we've had a Summer Learning Family Fun Day. And we've had thousands of folks to come and visit us down at the Jackson Convention Center. But because of everything that's going on this year, we're doing something different because of COVID-19. And in the spirit of social distancing, we're having Summer Learning Family Fun Week, virtual style.
Okay.
We're doing it the entire week of June 21st through the 27th. It's going to be an entire week of fun for families to learn together at home. We're going to post activities, and we're going to have some live events. Ed said it's going to have his own concert.
Oh.
I mean, it's going to be story time, lots of things going on that entire week. So it's going to be lots of fun. And our theme is a great time to learn together. So we're telling everybody to just kind of follow us right now as we are planning. Keep up with us at MPB Education on Facebook and Instagram, and more details to come. But we're pretty excited about that.
That's good, and that's a huge event. I remember.
Yes, and the spirit of it is for to combat summer learning loss, to keep kids interested, excited about reading and STEM and learning, and this will help them to see how learning can be fun with their families.
Like you said, and get the entire family involved.
Absolutely.
All right. What else is happening in the education department?
Well, we're still doing our graduation, celebrating seniors. We're doing that online, and we have more than 100 entries. So we encourage people to go to education.mpbonline.org to take a look at those entries.
And that is going to run on their page until when?
Well, we are taking submissions throughout June, and we'll keep it. It lives there on our website, so people can always go see it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. We did have a great show last week, didn't we?
We did.
With the seniors.
We did.
I almost got teary-eyed a little bit during the show.
Congratulations to all of them.
Yes, all of the 2020 graduates as well. Now, of course, each week we talk about tips for parents or kids, and now our tips today are going to be centered around the summertime. So what tips do we have?
I have 3 tips, and actually we got these from Georgia State University. They posted a news story there, and I found these 3. I pulled these 3 out. The first one: encourage your child's interest. It's a great time to expose young children to something new opportunities. If you find that they're interested in something, try a new activity with them. Friends and families can teach younger kids on Zoom how to do something new. I read an article where lots of teenagers are starting to garden.
Oh,
so
wow, that's good.
That's a good thing. So encourage your child's interest. The second one is to put the children to work. Giving children some predictability by engaging them a lot in household chores and just schedule things that they know that they're going to have to do and be held accountable for. That helps them throughout the summer. And then just enjoy the downtime. Sometimes kids may seem to be bored. That's natural. Mm-hmm. But if we could value the season of this time that we're having right now, the summer is a good time for families to think differently and to know that, even if they're playing, they're still learning.
Right. And
yeah.
I like the first one you said, find out what their interests are. This is when you can find out if your child has an interest in art. And
mm-hmm.
then I did last year on Next Stop Mississippi. I went around the state looking for unique summer camps. I think I was talking to you about
mm-hmm.
that. Bird watching camp
mm-hmm.
and camps that you wouldn't ordinarily think they were out there.
Yes.
So if your child is interested in bird watching or rocks or minerals or any quirky thing, very good time right now to find out what their interests are and then try to develop those.
If you see them digging in the dirt, don't become frustrated. That means they might be a
archaeologist
yes.
One day or something like that. And I know I'm guilty of that. I don't like dirt. I don't like mess.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes mess and dirt develops something in kids. Imagination, like
right.
you said, learning.
And for the older students, read, learn. If you feel like, I got an interest in this thing, read about it, learn about it, practice it, try it out, and see how it works for you.
All right. Well, I love that. So we got a lot of fun things coming up this summer. And, of course, stay with us in Mississippi Education Connection because this summer we're going to do a lot of fun shows. We're going to have Ed Set. We're going to talk about the summer learning program and a lot more for parents and students so you know what you can get involved with this summer. Well, don't go far. We're going to take our first break. But when we get back, we're going to head to the Walter Anderson Museum and find out what summer programs they have available for your kids. Stay tuned. This is Mississippi Education Connection, only on MPB Think Radio.
Hey, this is Malcolm White. I'm one of the hosts of the Mississippi Arts Hour, the arts interview show on Think Radio. Every week we talk with visual artists, musicians, as well as people who help bring the arts to their communities. We hear about how each artist learned their craft and get some insight into their creative process. You can hear the Arts Hour every Sunday at 5 p.m. or listen anytime by subscribing to the show through your favorite podcast app.
This is an MPB Think Radio podcast.
You're listening to Mississippi Education Connection. I'm your host, Michelle McAdoo, along with my co-host, Tara Wren, Director of Education here at MPB. Well, school is out, and now it's time for a little summer camp fun. But what will summer camps be like in the year of COVID-19? Well, today we're taking a look at a few summer camps across the state that will provide fun educational options for your kids. Let's start on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in Ocean Springs and welcome our first guest to the show, Julian Rankin, Executive Director of the Walter Anderson Museum. Good morning, Julian.
Good morning.
It's been a while, huh? I haven't talked to you in a couple of months, about 6 months.
Yeah, the world has changed a bit.
It has. The last time we spoke, you were on Next Stop Mississippi, and we were talking about outdoor events you guys were planning. And now, look, now we have to talk about something new.
I know, and it's a time that demands creativity from everybody. So being in the cultural community, we're used to that, but these new circumstances have changed the way we're working, but we're still excited to bring art and education and imagination to students and lifelong learners. So we're ready for summer, even if it's a little bit different.
Well, speaking of summertime, how have you been able to continue to engage with children and parents throughout the pandemic? Did you completely close down?
We did. We've been closed since mid to late March, as many folks had, and we're still working on a reopening plan. So we're still not physically open to the public, but we've shifted most of our engagement, as many folks have, to online and digital. And so we've had a new initiative called Art Plus, where we're connecting our collection to different fields of study. We've done digital exhibitions. We've had our own live stream shows, interview shows going on. And then in terms of camp, we're right now planning for a virtual STEAM camp. So a camp that's going to be online, also take-home activities. We'll be mailing home supplies, and we're going to connect the collection to science, technology, engineering, and math. And so that's going to be on June 8th. So that's our next event.
Oh, well, so you say you're still you're planning your reopening procedures. What do those look like? Do you have any? Can you talk about that right now?
Yeah, and in terms of timing, we'll be announcing our specific reopening date here next week. But we're working on a phased June reopening. So starting in mid-June, we'll start to open the doors back up. And in the meantime, things are changing. We're installing a new exhibition so that when people do come back, there'll be some brand new, fresh work on view. And of course, we're taking all the protocols. So we're working on measures to protect visitors and our staff, and all the signage and cleaning protocols. And so while it might look a little bit different or feel a little bit different, most of the time museums are touch-free and well-ventilated spaces. So we hope that what we know for a fact is that the art will still be as beautiful as it was before the pandemic.
Well, Julian, you spoke about what all the things that you're doing, and then we noticed that you have a reopening survey on your website. What type of feedback have you received from the potential visitors to the museum, and who's answered that survey?
Right. Well, the first thing we've seen is that, and this is borne out from other data that's been gathered across the country, is that people want to come back to art museums. There's been a lack of being able to go outside and to visit these places that hold so much beauty. So across the board, people are ready to come back. And they also want to see some measures taken, as we would expect, and those are the ones that we're taking. So, social distancing, reducing the quantity of people at any given time, asking folks to protect themselves and others. And so we're really leaning on the public to define exactly what we are doing in terms of visitor experience, because we do know that while folks do want to come back, they also want to feel safe, and we're a trusted institution like art museums are, and so we take that responsibility very seriously.
Absolutely. You spoke about some of the things that you're doing right now. Do you have any virtual tours that people can visit?
Right now, if you go to our website, and as I mentioned, there's an initiative called Art Plus, which is our collection plus connections to different fields of study. And so you can go and see yoga happening in the galleries and follow along. You can walk through the community center and get introduced to Walter Anderson's pelicans and how those connect to science. And we're working right now as well on a new mobile app so that when people do come to the museum, and certainly if they want to do it from their own locales, they'll be able to explore the collection further. So that's to come, the app, but everything now online. If you go to our website, you'll be able to get a glimpse of the museum and feel like you're with us, even if you're not physically.
Well, Julian, you spoke earlier about your reopening date. Well, I know your museum has summer camps galore, great ones, cooking, and all types of fun summer camps. Talk to us a little bit about how your summer camps will take place, given the new guidelines for COVID-19.
Right. So when all this happened, we went ahead and wiped the slate clean. So all our previously scheduled camps that would have normally occurred, we put those to the side and are inventing a new paradigm, if you will. So this virtual STEAM camp I mentioned, which is June 6th through 12th, that's in some ways a pilot and an experiment for the first summer camp that we'll have. And then as things progress, it's possible that we may have some in-person experiences following that, but we wanted to take it slow and be safe. And so this first experience, the only summer camp currently on the books is the STEAM camp. And from there, we'll be adding new offerings. Some may be virtual, some may be in person. But in the meantime, we're going to get to work on connecting, like I mentioned, the collection to all these interesting ways of imagining, such as engineering and science. And it's going to be a good camp.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the virtual STEM camp. Who's going to be the educator leading the camp, and what days they'll be available?
And how can people sign up?
Yeah, how can people register?
Yeah, so Dr. Heather Montgomery, who's a coastal educator, K-12 educator here, is volunteering and working with us to develop this camp. And we were actually at the museum with her yesterday, going over some of these fun activities. We'll be doing everything from computer-aided design and using Petri dishes and making art with Skittles and candy, and using, again, all these different elements of engineering. We'll have architects being special guests to talk about what it means to create and work in a career that demands imagination and problem solving. And so the way the camp works, it's June 8th through 12th. And when folks register, they'll get a box sent to their home with all the supplies they'll need. And then they'll have some take-home activities. So every day there'll be activities for students to work on their own. And then there'll be a virtual live class every afternoon. So they'll get to work with the educators themselves and also do some things on their own, this self-guided discovery. And it should be really nice because we've worked really hard on it. The camp and the lessons in there are really dynamic. And I was testing out some of them myself. I'm not quite in the age group. The recommended age group is 8 through 12, but I was getting excited about the activities.
Wow. So, Julian, I'm listening to you, and as a parent, my daughter is 16, going on 17. But just say, what if parents, especially with the rollout and going back to work, they need a place where their children can actually go to while they're at work? Will there be any, like you said there, you guys are testing this virtual camp out at first. Is there any talk on reopening an actual camp where kids can come?
We're certainly, all those options are on the table, so we don't want to rush into that and do that right away. But the summer is long, and every day seems to stretch on for an eternity. So as the weeks go by, things will change dramatically, and so we're in the planning stages for what some in-person camps might also look like. So while we're foraying into the digital world for now, later in the summer we hope to be able to do some in-person things, and so we're working on those program design protocols and activities as we speak.
Julian, I want to circle back and ask you, when is the registration deadline for the STEAM camp?
So it starts on June 8th, which is a Monday, and really, if you're registered by that Sunday, you'll be ready to go. Although, of course, if you're local, but we want to get the mailed boxes out ahead of time. So I would recommend folks go ahead and register. We can work with folks to get the shipping expedited, or even drop it off at your home if you're local here on the coast. But while typically you'll be able to access all the things if you register the day before, we do recommend folks giving us a good 3 to 5 days before the program starts, so that we can get that box in the mail.
All right. And also, you talked about exhibits that you have. Do you have any special exhibits that people can actually look at for this summertime?
Yeah, we do. We've got 2 digital exhibitions actually right now. One is of Walter Anderson's cat. So it's called 9 Lives, Cats of Walter Anderson, and it's about 65 different cats that Walter Anderson painted and drew over the course of his life, and it's a great window into seeing his artistic progression from the 1920s all the way forward into the 60s. And then there's another exhibition up as well of original work by high school seniors here in Mississippi. So we have an annual scholarship show where we offer scholarship contributions to winning artworks from high school seniors, and that's up too. And there's 2 artists from Jackson who won our scholarships this year. So all of those can be found on our website. If you go to the exhibitions page, you'll see the link to our digital exhibitions, and they're really fun, and a lot of great work is on view.
What is your website address?
It's WalterAndersonMuseum.org.
All right. Well, thank you, Julian. Of course, it's always a pleasure having you here with us at MPB, and you've been a longtime friend of MPB. Good luck with reopening, and good luck with your virtual camps. I hope they go well. But I know people are really itching to get back into the museum because your summer camps were a lot of fun.
Yeah, but we'll be ready soon, and we hope everybody stays safe and come visit us. We'll be open very soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for visiting us here at Mississippi Education Connection. It's time for us to take another quick break. When we return, we'll head to the Mississippi Children's Museum. If you have a question or comment, give us a call. It's 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464. Stay tuned. This is Mississippi Education Connection on MPB Think Radio.
Contractor ever tell you the price of something and it sounds so high you think, maybe I'll try it myself. Some jobs just aren't that difficult, and yes, you can do it. If you want to find out how to do those things, listen to Fix It 101, podcast everywhere.
This is an MPB Think Radio podcast.
You're listening to Mississippi Education Connection on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Michelle McAdoo, along with my co-host, Tara Wren, Director of Education here at MPB. Well, today we've been discussing how to keep your kids active and engaged this summer and what options are available. Before the break, we spoke with Julian Rankin, Executive Director of the Walter Anderson Museum in Ocean Springs. Now let's welcome our next guest. She's the President and CEO of the Mississippi Children's Museum, Susan Gerard. Good morning, Ms. Gerard.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me. And we say happy anniversary to MPB here at the Mississippi Children's Museum. Happy 50th.
Thank
we
you
certainly
so
appreciate
much.
that.
Thank
Ronnie
you
was
so
over
much.
last week.
Yes.
And we appreciate that celebration you gave for Ronnie and MPB.
Well, Susan, let's just start off. You guys do so much at the Mississippi Children's Museum, and when COVID-19 first hit, what were your first thoughts about operations at the museum?
Well, our first thoughts were, how to follow our state and local and national leaders, what they suggested for our museum as well as other museums around the country, because we wanted our children to be safe and the families that visit us to be safe. So we closed mid-March, and we've been closed to the public ever since. But the staff at the Mississippi Children's Museum probably has been busier than they've been in a long time. We really reacted quickly to support children and families with online activities. We've really pushed us to do some things that we've never done before. Folks can find so much great educational content and curriculum on our website now, videos on our YouTube channel, some fun things that you can do at home. We also created a wonderful printed piece that amazingly has been just such a great piece that school districts have requested around, that we've sent home to children and also to our members, that have lots of great activities that you could do at home or that teachers could encourage children to do. We had one really fun thing in our playbook, which is our quarterly newsletter that we've distributed now 75,000 copies, called Camp Backyard, about creating your own camp in your own backyard, which was really, really fun. So lots of busyness since that middle of March, and we're getting ready for a fun summer and reopening our camps here at the Mississippi Children's Museum.
Well, speaking of reopening, I'm glad you mentioned that. What are your policies and procedures moving forward, and do you have a reopen date?
We are still trying to finalize that final reopen date to the public. We want to be able to make sure that we can do that safely. We're projecting the end of June. We are, as some folks know, here in Central Mississippi, we do have day camps, and we do with child care, so we are following CCARE protocols, and we'll start camp in June. for a limited number of children. Our June camps are sold out just because we've got such a limited number that we're doing, because we can do that safely. And then hopefully we'll be able to open at the end of June to the general public again with some limited time tickets and some additional safety protocols so that we can safe distance and still have a fun time. We will continue to have camp in July, and some of those but there are really fun things that people can do even if they can't come to camp at the Mississippi Children's Museum. We're going to have some virtual activities online that folks can sign up for via Zoom, and you can get more information about that on our website at mschildrensmuseum.org. We're hopeful this summer to have some really fun virtual things like Art Smart and Super STEAM, some yoga for children. So look forward to some of those things that even if you can't get to the museum, will be available online.
Well, Susan, knowing that you will be responsible for the health of children attending your camps, what is your level of comfort for allowing children to attend camp in the museums this summer?
Well, ours is going to be set up really more like childcare. And so we are following and have had many conversations with our folks at the state level about limiting the number of children in a particular group, and doing temperature checks and sanitation stations and protocols for disinfecting, just a very high level. We have always been, as a children's museum, intensely focused on cleaning, and our staff is very, very well trained in that. Just in our normal life, but pre-COVID, we had very, very high standards. And we've added on those safety standards and recommendations that our state, local, and federal officials have designated for centers and child care centers and daycare centers. So we would not be doing this unless we felt like we could do it safely.
Susan, what special exhibits do you have this summer? I know you guys have a special one every once in a while.
Yes, we actually are welcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles later this summer, and we are super excited about welcoming the Turtles to Jackson. And we know Leonardo's probably going to bring a special pizza with him. Mm-hmm. And so we are really excited about that. This particular exhibit is focused on STEM and STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and math. So we're really excited that children have an opportunity. We know the school year was disrupted, and we know this is an important time during the summer and a summer slide to try to make sure that we stay, totally focused on keeping at our grade level and learning some new things this summer, but also having fun. So we hope that this exhibit will allow us to promote some of these initiatives for children, and look forward to welcoming the Turtles later this summer.
And speaking of having fun, you typically host events, birthday parties, and field trips. How has all this changed, and what do you expect people? When do you expect people to be able to utilize the museum for those type of things again? Will you be open for birthdays?
Again, later this month.
Mm-hmm.
Later in June. We are still following the advisement of our state, local, and federal guidelines when we can do that safely. We anticipate to be able to do that. Again, timed tickets. We are going to have limited spaces so that we can stretch out in the museum. I will say one thing that we're very fortunate in is that we have gorgeous outdoor spaces. Our literacy garden, which is outdoors, is about 18,000 square feet. We are planning on doing some things at our splash pad and our pollinators garden. We planted a secret victory garden, so we are hopeful to be able to use our outdoor spaces in a much more robust way for programming, and that gives us an additional, our building's 40,000 square feet, so we are looking at a significant numbers of square footage that we can spread visitors and guests out when we reopen to the public and do some really interesting and fun programs. One thing that our staff is an idea that we're doing that I think is just really, really fun is a kite making day that teaching children about flying a kite and we would set up station outdoors for children to make their kites. And so I think that's a really fun idea that we can execute safely. I just can't shout out our education team enough to think through safety protocols, but at the same time, we know that this has been a stressful time for children, and to try to give them some reassurance and also maybe get back to normal a little bit. Children do crave that sort of schedule and normalcy, and so I really have to shout out our educators who are thinking about all these safety protocols as well as how to meet our mission to serve children and families.
Wow, you have lots going on. Those are some fun programs, and the fact that children can get outside and do those things outside and explore is really great. Just interested in knowing about membership. Are you offering any special offerings to members during this time?
I just cannot thank our members enough. They have been so supportive. They have answered our survey questions, which has helped us establish what our next steps should be, and we are very grateful to our members. Many of them have renewed their membership to support the museum, even though we're not open. We are offering members an additional day on the back end of their membership for every day that we're closed. So many of our members, though, have just been supportive and have given us great feedback and financial support. So we do want to say thank you for that.
All right. Well, congratulations, of course, goes out to you and your second location being built in Meridian. Can you give us yes, I can't wait. Can you give us an update on the construction process?
Absolutely. I hope folks can go to our website. It's a fun thing for children because we have, you can watch the museum being built. There's a link on our website that we are building our new museum on 22nd Avenue in Meridian. The community in East Mississippi has been amazing. There is just wonderful leadership that has brought this to the children of East Mississippi, this project to the children of East Mississippi, and we're really excited. It's going to be about 20,000 square feet, but we have almost the exact same square footage outside. So their garden, it's called My Fantastical Backyard, is going to be almost the same size as the interior. So it's going to be an amazing, beautiful facility for children and families and educators. The museum is on 22nd Avenue, leading into downtown, and Meridian has so many amazing things going on right now. The Max is just a great, beautiful facility, and check out what's going on their website. We've been partnering with them. So we really are excited about being in East Mississippi and about being part of the Meridian community. And we anticipate opening the museum in 2021. So it gives us all something hopeful to focus our energies on. The exhibits in the museum will celebrate. They'll be similar to the Children's Museum here in Jackson, but we have some new things and some wonderful stories to tell about East Mississippi. I don't know how many of your listeners know about the Key brothers. They were early flight innovators, and they developed in-flight refueling. And it is such a fun story to learn that some of our inventors and people that created things for our country are actually based out of Meridian. And so we have a great exhibit and a flight exhibit that we're really excited about showcasing that.
Yeah, Meridian has a rich history in Mississippi with PV Electronics being there as well. It's a lot of rich history. A lot of good exhibits can come out of Meridian alone.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned your first camp is already filled up?
Yes, in June. We may have a couple of spots later in June open, but because of we wanted our safety protocols, we did limit the number of children just so that we want to be able to do that and spread children and be able to socially distance and make sure that we're changing the protocols of how we do camp a little bit differently and keep children separate in separate groups. So, your listeners can double check our website if any cancellations pop up. But for the most part in June, we have sold. I do think there's some spaces still left in July. And we want to serve those children and families that do need places for their children to go. But just keep an eye out on that mschildrensmuseum.org.
Well, what would you say to parents who are still apprehensive about signing their children up for camps or bringing them into the museum?
I think that parents would have to do the things that they feel comfortable with. I know that for our members and for people that love the museum, they know that our staff loves children and that we are going to do what's best and safe and use the highest possible protocols we can. So I think this will be a good opportunity. I know some parents are returning to work and they need places that they feel confident that their children can be. So we look forward to trying to serve those families.
Yes, and I know you mentioned kudos to your team, your educating team, because no one could have predicted this time. And Julian said it earlier, if you were listening, it actually brought out a lot of creativity out of the entire staff. You had to redesign your policies and how you were going to move forward with the museum. And so a lot of creativity that was forced out of people came out. So I'm sure,
that's correct.
Yes, with virtual online camps and like you said, coming up with online exhibits and things like that for kids to do at home with their families. It's just really interesting to see how the entire world has adapted to this unprecedented time.
I know. And I do have to say one thing that my team did, too, besides our creation of online curriculum, they recognized that not all children have access, and they have distributed probably 600 to 700 activity kits to some of our after-school children who needed some hands-on things and maybe some social emotional tools like a stuffed animal or so they've been really busy too, reaching out to children who needed some extra information, maybe in a more tangible form that might not have access to our online curriculum. So I'm really proud of them and appreciate everything that they do and how their heart is for children, safety and their safety and health.
Right. Well, Susan, thank you so much for being a part of Mississippi Education Connection. Give the website one more time and let everyone know where they can register or see if they have any more openings for your summer camps this summer and what you have available.
All right. It's mschildrensmuseum.org. And you also can follow us on all of our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and that's a great way, easy way, just to click a link on something that you're really interested in.
All right. Well, we've been speaking with Susan Girard. She's president and CEO of the Mississippi Children's Museum here in Jackson. Thank you again for being a part of Mississippi Education Connection.
Thank you.
You stay safe, okay? Well, it's time for our final break. And when we get back, we'll head to the Boys and Girls Club of Central Mississippi. Plus, if you have a question or comment, give us a call at 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464. Stay tuned. This is Mississippi Education Connection on MPB Think Radio.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jimmy Stewart, Professor of Internal Medicine and Pediatrics at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. On the original Southern Remedy, we answer questions about all aspects of your health and share some of the latest medical information in the news. You can listen to the show on Wednesdays at 11 on MPB Think Radio, or you can subscribe to the podcast by searching for Southern Remedy on your preferred podcasting app.
This is an MPB Think Radio podcast.
This is Mississippi Education Connection on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Michelle McAdoo, along with my co-host, Tara Wren, Director of Education here at MPB. Well, if you're just joining us today, we've been taking a look at summer camps and programs from around the state. Now, if you have a question or comment, give us a call. The number is 1-877-672-7464. Now, before the break, we spoke with Susan Gerard, President and CEO of the Mississippi Children's Museum. All right. So let's go and welcome our last guest to the show, the President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Mississippi, Penny Ainsworth. Good morning, Penny.
Good morning. How are you?
We are fine. And I just must say, I've never talked to you here at MPB. I'm so glad I had a chance to get you on the show and talk about the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Mississippi.
Well, I am excited to be on the show, and we must not let this go much longer without us talking, especially about some of the best commodities we have in the world, and that's our young people.
Yes. So real quickly, let's tell us a little bit about yourself and how your role with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Mississippi and how you got involved with the program.
Oh, wow. So you want to start off and making me feel old at the top of the meeting. So this is my 24th year in Boys and Girls Clubs. I started out in the clubs in Virginia back in the early 90s, right out of college, undergrad, and then through grad school. Then I've shifted around throughout the years, spent 5 years in 5 different states for Boys and Girls Clubs. I feel like I've been in the military for children, but I am a gladiator for youth. That's my purpose. I arrived here as President and CEO 7 years ago, almost 8, and I never thought that Mississippi would be home. I'm a northern girl, but I can't think of any place today I'd rather be.
And you talk about, we can hear in your voice the passion that you have for what you do. That is so great. Talk a little bit about what the Boys and Girls Clubs actually do for Mississippi and the kids.
Yes, ma'am. Well, good deal. Our organization is located here in Jackson and surrounding areas, but altogether throughout the state of Mississippi, we have 18 organizations. And our sole purpose is to keep our young people on time and on track for high school graduation with post-secondary plans. Literally, we're not schools. We're aligned with schools. We're aligned with parents. We put together life teams to make sure that each of our young people have a plan for a future. And literally, our organization exists to identify and fill the gaps in the community to ensure that every child is set up for success in life. It's not complicated for us. We got a simple mission. It's to save lives for young people and build hope.
That is awesome. Penny, what's a typical day when a student enters the Boys and Girls Club? What happens when they're there?
Okay, so we call it the blue door. Once the blue door is open and our young people walk through, the magic starts, and the kids are our magic. They literally come inside our clubs, and they go into 5 different core areas throughout the day. From career development to financial literacy to our workforce development programs to making sure that our kids understand how to cook and know how to write a check. And, of course, we got health and lifestyles, which means they go through the gymnasium, and we have old school exercises and making sure our kids' brains, their mind, body, and their soul is committed to doing something daily. And then we also, the soul of the organization is our games room where the kids can go in there and, like we used to do, and play old school games and make sure that we're sneaking learning into the kids by teaching them life skills.
Yes. Right. Now, your clubs are currently closed at the moment. What are your plans for reopening?
So our clubs, we haven't closed. We closed to serving kids on the inside, but kids still come every day. Ever since spring break ended, we immediately opened up for meals. When everything hit the fan and we learned that the world had to shut down, when schools shut down right after spring break, my biggest fear was my babies eating. Because they normally eat breakfast and lunch in school, and then they get to us for dinner and 2 snacks. And so my immediate fear was, what are my babies going to eat? And that literally, I went to the board and I said that. And so we continued our feeding program. And then we partnered with the city of Jackson and did Meals on Wheels, and we took food to the community because one of our kids' biggest barriers is transportation. And so the kids that couldn't get to the club to get food every day, we took dinner, breakfast and lunch and dinner out to them. And then we, during the peak of COVID, when that week or two where the governor and the mayor said that everything needed to keep still, that was the only time we didn't feed. And then we opened right back up to feeding. And so the doors have never been closed for the clubs. Now, we have been serving kids through virtual matters. For our kids who didn't have computers, we deliver computers to them so that they can get their schoolwork done and still work with our professionals if they need help with homework help, because we offer homework help and tutorials every day during the after-school program. So we continued that once all of this the world shifted. But for my babies that couldn't get, didn't have technology at home, we took computers to them. We took boxes of food to them. We never stopped, and we won't stop.
So you plan to continue this service throughout the summer at all 18 clubs across the state?
Now, I'm not over the 18 organizations. All we have in our battery, Boys and Girls of Central Mississippi, is the 4 units.
I gotcha.
Yes, ma'am, inclusive of our camp that's down in Hazelhurst. We will open up our 3 inner city units for the summer, as well as our camp. Yes,
wow.
ma'am.
So how can a student become a part of the Boys and Girls Club? Is there a registration and to be able to utilize these services?
Yes, ma'am. We do. Parents have to come out to go to any one of our units or give us a call, and we'll walk them through it. But they have to go in person because there's some personal information we have to receive from them to register their children. But we turn no child away.
Now, Penny, are you taking any new guidelines for COVID-19 as far as registration and people coming into your facilities? Are you doing temperature checks, screenings before people and the kids come in?
Yes, ma'am. Our entire look post-COVID and has changed. Nothing is the same now. I mean, we're working directly with medical groups to make sure that we're doing everything from a safety standpoint. Like we had Dr. Quinn's team to come in and train our staff last week. We're doing three a day. We are calling it 3-a-day temperature checks. No adults are going to be allowed to come into the building. When parents drop kids off, they're going to be dropping them off in the front of the building. And I'll just say our capital unit, because most people know the capital unit has been around close to 100 years. In that facility, we have 8 classrooms. And so we're programming now from a 1 to 10 ratio. We're working directly with the CDC guidelines. And so that club that normally serves every bit of 400 kids a day during the summertime, we're abbreviating it down to 80 kids for the summer. It'll be 80, top at 100. And so we're going from serving 1,000 kids a day in our units to only serving 300 this summer for safety reasons. Wow. Each child will have to wear a mask. Each director will have to have on a mask daily throughout the day. We're not just checking the temperatures of our young people, it's also of our team members. So we also had to figure out what does that look like if someone has a temperature over 99. Where do we go to call an additional professional to come in? And so we have what we're calling our substitute professionals who are waiting to see if they have to come to work. Everything has changed. We have hand sanitizer stations installed outside of each one of the classrooms. We have a sanitized classroom where all the young people in one class are shipped to at least twice a day so we can sanitize their room again. We're not doing water fountains because of the growth of bacteria. Right. So we're closing down all of our water fountains, and we're going to having a bottled water. Everything is going to be bottled water. bottled juices, everything, so that to keep the bacteria down. But this coffee.
Well, Penny, I hate to cut you off. You're giving us some great information. Give me the website one more time where people can find out everything you just said and more.
It's bgccm.org.
Thank you.
Or they can give us a call at 601. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay, they can give us a call at 601. Oh, Lord, I'm done.
Just go to
601-969-7088.
All right. Well, thank you, Penny Ainsworth, President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Central Mississippi. We want to thank all of our guests today for joining us today. Of course, the Mississippi Education Connection is